Hi, my name is Girish, your host for today for Back to Basics on a Friday. So today's episode is a little special. We are celebrating All Father's Day. All married fathers, single fathers, any fathers, even grandfathers, if you really think about it, they were fathers back in the days too. So guys, I just want to say happy Father's Day to all. So today we have four guests, and I think one is still coming on the way, and I think he's still tied up with his kids and all that. But we have four people so far, and we will get right into the show with those four fathers. Guys, thank you again for coming on the show. Well, let me unmute you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So first thing is first, let me introduce all you guys. Rahul, who is a friend of mine since high school, and we've been friends ever since. I'm not really sure why we are still friends, but we are still friends. Um, the other person is Joel. We chatted, I think, a couple of months back, maybe a month ago. I'm not really sure what date, but his interview will be releasing on July 2nd. So you will see Joel on there too. And Sandeep, I've found out him by accident. Actually, we've been friends for the long time, for maybe 5 years, but it looks like all our friends are his friends. So it seems like we never really met. And I think I'm glad I never met him before because he was a daredevil type of thing, Sandeep. So thank you all guys for coming on my show. So the first question that I have is, what does Father's Day mean to you in back to basic mode? So let's start with Joel. Go ahead.
Oh gosh. Uh, in back to basic mode, I just look at Father's Day and Mother's Day um, and any sort of day like a birthday or whatnot as just a reminder to slow down and celebrate the things that we often forget to celebrate because
Mhm.
we're so busy in our minds and in our lives all the time that I think life should be more of a daily celebration, but but we do need these days sometimes to remind ourselves. So it's a good reminder to celebrate the importance of you know the the father.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Joel. And how about you, Rahul? For you.
Uh, Look, back to basics for fathers is you cannot get any more basic than coming out with your child, and spending a day with Mother Nature and spending a good time and getting back to the basics of cleaning up and being together and enjoying the moments that you have with your child,
Yeah.
whether it's cleaning up the streams or just playing card games at home. It brings back to basic on spending time and enjoying the time with your kids.
Yeah. Thank you so much. How about you, Sandeep?
Yes, basically same along the same lines as what the other guys said. Spending quality time with your father, your grandfather, and as well as with your kids. Back to basics way. Basically, before we had any of the technology, we weren't dependent on any of that stuff. So basic things like playing card games, a board game, or just spending quality time going out to a park, or just simple things in a life that we all don't currently do because we're so busy in our lives and dependent on so many things that we forget what it used to be like.
Yeah, times are different nowadays. I'm not talking about because of the lockdown and anything, but I'm talking from today and let's say 10, 15 years ago, how we used to spend time with our fathers and moms and parents, and it is different now, right, Sandeep?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And
Definitely.
Azim, thank you for coming on the show. A little late bloomer, it looks like, and thanks for coming. So I want to introduce Azim. Uh, Azim is a very good friend of mine back in, I don't know, high school days, and now we're friends even today. And he's an amazing guy. And Azim, thank you for coming on my show for Father's
Thanks
Day.
for having me.
Thank you.
Sure. Hello, everyone. And apologies for being late. It was part of being a father. So that's what kept me back a little. I was having to do something with my son and getting him prepared for his day. So I was rushing to get that done and get to your show.
Yeah. And Azim will be on my show, and his interview will be released on August 6th also. So we are looking forward to talking to him and chatting with him on my show. Azim, thank you again. So the first question that we asked is, what is back to basic moment for you for Father's Day?
So I would say, because of the lockdown, just taking this into perspective, it's really enabled all of us, I think, to really be more than usual in terms of being a good father.
Yeah.
And what do I mean by that? I grew up in a family. My dad worked pretty much 7 days a week, and he was still a good father. But in that sense, did I have the quality time that I would like to have had with them? It probably wasn't the same as I could provide to my son now, especially this past year.
Yeah.
So back to basics is spending as much time as you can, because as my father is elderly now, he doesn't have that, same capability to spend the quality time I would like with him. So the years that we have with our parents, the years that we have with our children, they're formative years. I think it's important to, as men to sons or men to even daughters, how do you instill the best of your personality into them? And that's back to basics, just the core of who you are.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if any of you have sons and daughters each, one of each or not. I know that few people that I know obviously have a single child, but is there a difference between a boy and a girl? So Joel, let's start with you on that.
I have two girls. They're 9 and 6, and I don't have a boy, but my brother has a young boy. It seems to me that the energy level is a little bit more intense with him, and I can recall that with myself. But I always kind of like to think that we our children kind of teach us what we need, and so I think that having girls and being in that beautiful feminine energy that they bring, and the way that they approach their lives in their beautiful youth is exactly what I need as a kind of always been a go kind of guy. So it's very grounding to have two daughters. Obviously the joke is what happens later in life with daughters, and whether or not the teenage years are challenging, but it's one of those things where I don't know everything. I don't know necessarily how to raise girls or how to raise boys, but all I try and be for them is sort of, I like to say, something that they can crash against as they figure themselves out, to hold a very safe space for them to ask the questions that they have and feel the emotions that they have as they go through their own lives and learn to understand who they are as people.
Yeah. How about you, Rahul? Because Rahul and Sandeep, they both have one child, but they both have girls. So go ahead.
What Joel said, what Joel said is, I kind of echo about the demeanor of the girl or a boy. My brother has a boy, and it takes a lot more energy to raise a boy than a girl, I can tell you that. But I think they both are precious gems in our lives, and they both have their own set of mindset and demeanor about how to keep you grounded, and gives you the life that if I don't have a boy, I can enjoy it with my brother's son, and he can enjoy it with my daughter and experience having a girl. And it just puts things into perspective on, the beautification of each of their, I would say, growing up age. Every occasion from childhood to now, she's a teenager, and going through the teenager phase of a girl, it was much more different than what Joe was expecting. Trust me, it doesn't get any better. Your heart races more every time now than it used to.
How about you, Sandeep? Thank you again, Rahul. Go ahead.
Having a boy or a girl, I see no difference. I mean, as a child, we love them equally, whether it be a boy or girl. That's not a choice that we have of, who's gonna be born into our family. But I mean, there's nothing that I see that a girl cannot do that a boy can do. Yes, there are some limitations as a gender. There's things that are more geared towards boys versus girls, but times have changed, and but the girls, I feel like they're more loving. I only have one child, but I do have family members who have boys and girls, and I see the upbringing of the daughter, or how close they are to their fathers, the daughters. So, I mean, in their teenage years, the daughters might probably keep us a little bit more on the edge as parents, but
Yeah.
I see no difference between a boy and a girl, as far as their upbringing and what they can do. It's just the gender is different.
Yeah, I think if I asked that same question 10 years ago, I think things would have been different. But I think nowadays are that both are as equal. But I understand what Rahul and Joel are saying, that yes, boys are a little more tougher and more vibrant and more energetic than the girls, I guess. So Azim, how about you to this question? Yeah,
I have both types. So I think I have 3 kids. So I have a 12-year-old daughter going to be 13 soon, in a month or so, and then I have another daughter that's 8, going to be 9 in September, and I have a son that's going to be 4 in July. So we have the gamut across the board of ages. I joke and I say I kept my wife in carrying a diaper bag for 12 years. It was a way of me of preserving that relationship, having a wife not running away from me, keep on having kids. But going back to the question, boys and girls, I mean, absolutely agree with you guys. Daughters are phenomenal, and no different than having a son. I think daughters have a unique way to love and show their love and affection. And once we had our son, I can guarantee you that rambunctiousness and that energy level is quite different, as you guys are mentioning. And also having my son in later part of my life than say having my daughters in my early part of my life has probably some impact to that, right? My energy level is lower also than I was when I was like, say, 28, 29. We were expecting at 29, having a kid at 30. And then, having this kid, when I was 40 is completely different.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say, yeah, there's no comparison between boy and girls in terms of one is better than the other. They're gifts of God and gifts of nature back to us. And then how do we help them becoming themselves? That's the, gift that we have for ourselves, right? How do we help them becoming blossoming individuals and humans? So I look forward to the journey.
Yeah. Thank you again, guys. So the question for all of you, what was the proudest moment that your dad was proud of you? Maybe he never said anything, but it was a sense that you got from your dad. So Azim, let's start with you.
I would say the proudest moment is probably first, being first generation. My family, moved over here. My grandfather actually came here first. We've been here for a long, long time, but first generation born into this country, and being able to, go through the whole schooling system and graduate and, finish up schooling. I think that was a proud moment for my family, being the first U.S. educated person in the family. I saw tears coming down, and he's a harsh and strong individual in that sense. He never really cried, but that day I saw him cry. So I think that was the top of the day for him.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great. And how about you, Sandeep?
So growing up as a child, I always had a dream of working for a Fortune 500 company back in India. And when I immigrated to US, just like a lot of us here, we started at small, work our way up, go through college and everything. And I think the proudest moment for him was when, and myself as well, was when I got my first job working for IBM. And I could see the happiness on my dad's face, that my dream came true of what I wanted to do back when I was like 10 or 11 years old back in India. And then you could just see the happiness on his face that, he's really doing something good for himself as well as supporting the family here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you for that. And Rahul, how about you?
It's tough to put one scenario, but my dad was a very happy-go-lucky guy. He usually was happier anything that we accomplished in our life and what we did. And one thing he always said was, do whatever you need to do, enjoy life, and enjoy the work you do. So I don't think I can pinpoint one particular instance, but he enjoyed the moment, all achievements that we did thoroughly.
Oh, thank you. And Joel, how about you?
It's a good question. I've never actually thought about it before. One of the things that I think that we, as our role as a father, is to heal the line of so heal the generational line of the things that we pass on. So I find that, you know, the things that make us angry are sort of shortcomings and challenges as individuals. The things that are attached to our ego are often the things that we project onto our kids. We project our good things and we also project our bad things, the things that are unresolved in our own hearts. And I think that, you know, when it wasn't watching me accomplish anything that my father was most proud of me. It was when he saw me, you know, I was going through a tough time in one of my companies that I'd started, and I was trying to decide whether to leave. And, you know, the ego wants you to stay. It thinks, you know, there's money, there's this, there's that. And when I finally, but it was making me very unhealthy to be in the environment that I was in with this one particular company. And so I think that exiting that situation, as hard as it was, and doing something that I think that he maybe felt like he couldn't have done in his life, was when he was most proud of me, was to make a choice true to my heart, even though it didn't on the outwardly look like the right choice, you know, optically in terms of money and different things, but it was the right choice for myself. And so I think he saw the work that he tried to do inside his own heart in his life sort of show up in that moment for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. My proudest moment for my dad was you know, back in the days when AT&T was one of the biggest companies back out there, and still is. But I think before was a little different. And when I got into AT&T, maybe as a contractor, but it's still, you know, front in the door. My dad was a little proud of me at that time. That was the goal at that time for technology companies, just like Sandeep. You know, IBM was one of the top ones and still is right now. But it seems like it seems for the fathers, they want the child to be there and do better in life. And I think I think it's mother and father both. I think so. I think that was the proudest moment for my dad on that part. So, guys, if you had a word to describe your dad, what is the word and why? So, Joel, let's start with you.
My dad's a very gentle soul. He's always just been, he's, you know, I don't think for better or worse, he never raised his voice. He was just always very gentle. And I think that was his way of trying to be strong, even if there was times that, you know, he didn't want to be, or you know, was trying to be. Gentleness was his strength.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And how about you, Rahul?
I would say patience, and again, I wish I could put it in one word, but patient would be the biggest forte. And of course, he was super gentle. So his soul has departed us, and we miss him a lot. But he was super sweet and super gentle, and cared a lot about the environment, the public. He did a lot of community service as well. So he was very gentle and patient soul.
Oh, thank you. Sandeep, how about you?
I would say strict. My dad was, and he's still till today. He's almost 80 years old, and he's still very strict. Kept me in line, you know, growing up. In fact, all three kids of his, he pretty much had his way, and you know, we were to follow his way. You know, pretty much exactly to the T. You know, what he said had to be done.
which totally you are totally opposite of that.
Yeah, now I am actually. I'm a wild child now, right?
Okay.
Or I was for a while.
Was for a while, right? And how about you, Azim?
Yeah, I would say like, it's also hard to describe in one word, but if it's one word, I would say it's reassuring. He was always in that sense. If obstacles came along, he would say all things pass, and being steadfast and that quality that he had through his life. That I think I try to also reflect on and see how that can be enabled and instilled in myself. So the reassuring aspect.
Oh, okay. Thank you. When it comes to fathers, right? Fathers, they come up with corny jokes. So wives, they roll your eyes and say, "Why did you say that?" And kids, they say, "Oh, dads are annoying when they do corny jokes." Is there a corny joke that you say all the time, and family members are a little annoyed with you? So Azim, starting with you.
And no, I don't actually have any corny jokes.
Okay.
I think I'm just corny in general. So my whole life's probably being corny around them, saying that's a corny dad, and my wife makes fun of me all day long. So I don't have to come up with anything witty. It's just who I am, a silly guy.
Yeah. How about you, Sandeep?
I can't think of any particular joke. My daughter actually finds it more funny talking to me because my wife is a little bit more stricter than I am. I'm more easygoing. So, anytime she's yelling at my daughter, I kind of just have a way of making things up. It could be just something very simple, just calling her a different name, which will just put a smile on her face. So from that way, she finds me more funnier than my wife. Not that she doesn't love her equally or more than me, probably, but yeah, she finds me more funnier. I just come up with some weird, silly jokes or just do silly things with her.
Yeah. How about you, Rahul?
We don't have any particular joke in the house per se, but again, I joke around. I'm not a person who is very strict with my daughter, so I try to make light of the situation as much as I can when my wife and my daughter is going at it. But other than that, there's not much that I particular joke in the family that I play on my daughter with my daughter.
Okay. And how about you, Joel? I'm pretty sure you have something.
Well, it's tough because these dad jokes are always of the moment. So you're always reacting to something that's said. I don't necessarily have a standing one, right? So what I will tell you, what was interesting the other day was that, I mean, it's so funny. It's like the older you get, the more the jokes, the attempt to use humor to diffuse situations and engage in situations as the dad manifests in you, and you're like, where was that stored for the last 10 years? And my dad told me, because his family has a long history of terrible, atrocious jokes that only they find funny. And I asked my dad, when did you start doing this? And he said, which I found really, really interesting. Do you guys watch MASH? Did you guys watch MASH?
Yeah, back in the days, yeah.
So what's the name of the funny guy in it? I can't remember if he was a doctor or whatever, but he was the comic relief in MASH.
The skinny guy, I forget his name.
Yeah. My dad said that he watched MASH growing up and decided that he was going to try and be like that character. Like he was going to always try and have like the punchline joke. And I'm like, you actually cultivated this like humorous personality that then rubbed off on us. So I don't have an exact joke, but I do have a backstory as to my dad's intent to have terrible jokes his whole life.
So guys, why is it always that we have corny shirts for Father's Day when everyone's selling the stores? Like I'm wearing now, it's like a corny Father's Day t-shirt. Why do you think that is, Joel? Do you have any idea? I think they're taking fathers not serious as compared to Mother's Day when they're giving out flowers and looking nice and all that. So why fathers is portrayed as corny people?
Oh, I don't know. I just think that like the seriousness of life and the challenge of parenting is like being a parent is actually, I find it very hard. I would not lie that I find it very challenging to think that you're doing a good job. And obviously life has its challenges. So it's nice when you can bring some levity to it. And so, if we, as we go through life, we can find the space to be lighter, like the way you describe your dad, Raul. It's a thing of beauty in a world of challenge and so, I think that's just it. We get to play that role. It's a gift.
Yeah. How about you, Sandeep? And go ahead, Sandeep.
I can't think of anything. I do have a shirt.
Sandeep, if I can interject in the middle, I can just tell you a joke that is happening with me right now as we speak. Since I am sitting in the park talking to you guys, they're leaving me.
Oh, they're leaving now?
So they're saying, they're leaving. It's like, you sit and talk, we are going.
Oh, nice.
So that's my family driving away telling me we are going. So that's the joke they're playing on me now. Sorry. Go ahead, Sandeep.
Right. Now, as I was saying about the corny shirts and everything like that, I do have a shirt myself. I should have probably wore that, but it's my Sunday do nothing day shirt is what it's called, and I sometimes like to wear that actually on Father's Day and just kind of show it off. That hey, this is my day today. I'm not doing anything. You guys need to serve me today. Actually.
Yeah.
But it's all about marketing also, right? They can come up with anything, to make a buck, actually. So people will buy it if it's funny, and it's just humorous. I mean, it just puts a smile on people's face.
Yeah. How about you, Azim?
And why not?
I agree. I think, fathers maybe are taken for a little bit of grantedness because, it's historically been seen probably that we're not carrying the nicer things of life. But I think, hey, it's a new day, man. We do want some nicer things in life than corny t-shirts.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's okay, Azim, to feel like Ted Bundy and wear corny shirts and have a beer and sit in front of the TV or something like that, right? And keep on saying some witty stuff. And
Sure.
Yeah. How about you, Rahul? Nothing on your side, right?
One thing I do have, and I was not given for that way, but they do make fun of me. Is I have a T-shirt that says. I'm not dreaming. I'm dreaming of. I'm not snoring. I'm dreaming of a motorcycle.
Okay.
So that's the shirt they give me every time. And they keep saying that. I say on the other hand is I'm getting older. Snoring is my right.
Well, you know what? Then I have a challenge for all you guys. So whenever you wear a Father's Day shirt or a T-shirt, post that on Back to Basic page, and we'll hashtag it everywhere, and make fun of fathers for celebration of our fathers and ourselves at the same time. So
absolutely.
So guys, our fathers have gone through a lot of struggles in life to get where we are today. All of us. And fortunately, we are kind of all doing well. What are you doing differently than your father? Are you teaching your kids a little differently as compared to what he did to you? Rahul, let's start with you.
Am I teaching it differently? I don't know. I believe that each generation brings a different aspect of life challenges, and what we went through. My kids are going through different challenges in life, like the COVID and other things that they had, which we didn't. So each generation brings a new challenge where you have to give a new route, how you handle it and how you perceive giving advice to your child. My parents did not go through what these kids are going through now. So my parents had other issues with us. So I would say keep the mind open and let your kids enjoy life, what life has to offer, and make their own choices and guide them so that they don't make silly mistakes. But again, learn from the mistakes that they are making, right? And try to see if you can help them avoid anything big where they can get hurt.
Yep.
So that's my advice to my child is to live life, enjoy everything, don't addicted to it, don't get addicted to anything, but enjoy life, what life has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to go next? Azim, I guess.
So I think, the biggest difference between me and my father in terms of like upbringing or raising children is his was much more based on the fact that, he's been raised partially in South Asia, partially here in America, and he had, his upbringing to reflect on. And I'd say that from the sense that my upbringing, being born, raised here completely, married to a woman that's also born, raised here completely, our maybe views are a little bit more cosmopolitan, and we try to think things through a different lens. Lenses from culture, from the educational aspect is different, and of course, as Rahul just mentioned, each time period in our lives or each generational impact is completely different. My grandfather raised my father in a time of war and change. Then my father was raised in a time of moving to America and having that change in his life. And then me, I'm being brought up in the time when technology was coming into our lives much more rapidly. And, how does that impact our kids? And our kids are glued to, screens all day long. And how do we deal with that? I'm fighting with my 4-year-old every day, get off the phone, get off the pad. And it's like, he's like, no, I want this, I need this. And seeing that, difference, my parents never had to deal with that, right? So, maybe it was a Nintendo. We got yelled at playing Nintendo and Sega, but it's different.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what we have learned over the years is it looks like we have different challenges and different. I don't know, every 5 years, maybe every 10 years, but it is very different than where we grew up. Sandeep, how about you? Go ahead.
Not like these guys said, every generation has a different challenge. But aside from teaching the basics, let them enjoy life and, try to lead them in the right direction. And hopefully they don't make any mistakes. As a parent, that's your job, right? To raise the child, lead them in the right direction.
Yeah.
And hopefully they follow that.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. And Joel, how about you?
I had read this the statistic. I can't remember when or how old my daughter was when I'd read it, but it said something to the effect that 3/4 of all the time that you're going to spend with your kids happens before they're 19. Because once they move out, maybe you see them weekends, maybe you see them holidays, maybe they come over in the afternoons. But if you're talking about that core quality time, 3/4 of it is like done by the time they're 19 or 21, something like that. Mm-hmm. And when I read that, I changed everything because previously I'd been traveling like 200 days a year on business, and so barely seeing my family, and I started to bring them everywhere with me. If I went on a business trip to Miami, to Chicago, to New York, whatever, they were coming, so that I wasn't losing that time. And I made a priority to, as an entrepreneur, build my life around the value of time, not the value of money, and being able to spend more time with them day in and day out as best I can. And so I'm not saying my dad made that mistake. He didn't grow up in a time when, he wasn't parenting in a time when you could use technology as a way to, work remotely and work differently. But I craved time with my father, and he always gave it, but I just wanted to maximize that for my children. And, if it meant I made less money, then so be it. I'll make more when they're gone. So that's maybe one thing that I did differently.
Yeah. One last question before I let all you guys go is, what is the event that you do with your kids as a father? Like, for example, I take my son, let's say, fishing. Is there a particular activity that you do with your kid and then you leave a mark for him or her that, my dad did this for me? That is the last question for today. And then what is your last words for Back to Basics? Go ahead, Joel.
Starting here. A few things. One is I try to read to them all the time. That's something my dad did and not off an iPad, not off a phone. Try to read a good old fashioned book as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I travel with them. And so, you know, they've been to Lebanon and Vietnam and Taiwan and Argentina. And I just want them to know that I showed them the world. They can choose to do it with that, what they will after. Yeah. But I want to know that I gave them that opportunity to see the world. And in terms of just back to basics, I just, you know, as for fathers and grandfathers and mothers out there who will listen to your podcast, you know, there was a time when the family unit was, and this may be more in my own culture or in my own experience, where the family as a whole, everyone, the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts, everybody was involved in some sort of support or parental role for the children. Mm-hmm. The idea of a village raising a child. And as you know, all you gentlemen are successful, and to be successful takes a lot of time and effort and mental energy. And so the support of grandparents, the support of that community is so incredibly important for the children. And I've seen that disappear in my own experiences here, where it's much more as it happens, you know, holidays, weekend here or there. And so, you know, if we want to get back to basics, I would just strongly encourage families to really try in a communal way of raising kids and supporting them on their journeys through life.
Oh, Joel, thank you again. And Sandeep, how about you?
There's not one particular thing, but one of the things that I do enjoy with my daughter, or two of the things, is playing video games with her, or riding a bicycle with her, which I do quite a bit of bicycle riding. And she's kind of taken after me. She loves riding that. So that's quality time that her and I are spending, you know, putting the technology away, no phones, nothing, just be out in the open in the nature, just enjoy that quality time of half an hour, or whether that be an hour, you know, taking breaks and doing that. As far as going back to basics, I would say our lives are so busy these days with everything going on, you know, us being dependent on technology, which is really not a bad thing, but it takes away from our day-to-day lives with us spending quality time, whether that be just simply sitting for dinner as a family together, you know, and just putting everything away and just focusing on and discussing what you did that whole day. To me, that's quality time that a lot of us unfortunately don't seem to be spending. And, you know, that back to basics to me would be to spend more time as a family together, spend quality time, take vacations together, you know, things along that line.
Oh, thank you again, Sandeep. And Azim, how about you?
Sure. I think what I try to have special with my kids is like that adventurism that I might have myself, try to expand that with them. And what I do that is by saying that, hey, let's do this today, or let's do that today. You know, my wife is a little bit more reserved in that sense. So I try to take that route to connect with them, to show that, you know, let's think outside of the box. Let's do something that we might not have normally done on a day. And then, you know, again, the basic things, right? I like to be, as they were growing up, since they were babies till, you know, till the time they can bathe themselves, I try to be that guy. You know, if I'm around for that day, I try to give them their bath, you know, do the basic things, clip nails, you know, lotion them or whatever, you know, fix their hair up. Both the boy and the girls, I did that, you know, throughout their lives, you know. In that sense, I think that that's a way of connecting and being the father that maybe that my father wasn't able to do that for me. He worked 12-hour shifts. So that's how I felt like, you know, I can really, the basic sense of being a father is how close can you be to your child and do the day-to-day activities and nurture them in that way.
Oh, thank you, Azim. And Rahul, how about you?
Yeah, no, for me, it's funny. From childhood, I've been very infatuated with exotic animals, exotic things. So since my daughter, since she was a baby, I used to take her to, you know, see, you know, crocodiles and snakes, and you know, and we even went to Thailand, and we actually hung out with tigers, and she was able to, you know, play with the tiger cubs, and you know, So, and she got also involved and, and got excited to be with these majestic animals and be close to any of these things. So, we did a lot of these things. Even learned, me coming from India, never learned how to ice skate or ski or rollerblade or any of this. But when my daughter was young, I must have fallen like 50 million times, but I was there on the ice with her, trying to teach her how to, skate or ski or rollerblade. So, it comes down to the basic what all of you gentlemen talked about is spending quality time with your child, right? Regardless of whether you can perform the task with them or not, you learn with them, and that's the best journey when you are learning with your child. And one instance I can tell you, playing guitar. She went to a guitar class first day, and I also started tinkering around with it. But even though I didn't pursue or I didn't follow through with it, but it was a enjoyable experience and a journey that I think every parent should enjoy with their child, of whatever time they can get together. Like Joel said, we only have 19 years. Make the best out of it, and take that little things, whether sitting out together as family as a dinner, or playing cards, or seeing an exotic animal. Doesn't make a difference. It's a matter of spending time with your child wherever you can find.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul. Thank you, everyone, for being on the show for Father's Day, Back to Basic, and made this day a little special for all of us. And I thank you again, Joel, Sandeep, Azim, and Rahul, or I should say Rahul, Azim, and Sandeep and Joel. I mean, all you guys are just amazing how you came here and took the time and effort out of your busy schedules. Especially Rahul is still busy, almost gone, almost done. But thank you again,
Yeah,
guys.
I'm done. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and guys,
Thanks for having us, Rajesh.
no, thank you, guys. Happy Father's Day to all you guys, and be amazing and stay blessed.
Yep.
Thank
You as
you.
well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Happy
So, guys,
Father's Day. Take care.
so guys, we
All right.
spoke with all these guys, and we talked about Father's Day, and we talked about their moments with their kids and what their fathers did with them. And just keep in mind that everything goes back to basics regarding being a father. And here's a quote of the day. The quote of the day is, "A father's smile has been known to light up a child's entire day." So guys, that's what it's all about. Father's Day, make it simple, make it basic. So today, as always, remember, everything in life goes back to basics on this episode on every Friday. Guys, stay blessed, stay commenting, everything, whatever it is, just keep on listening. And guys, God bless. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
I think that's a good question. So I think, more than back to basics, it is to stay connected to basics. This is how really I would lead my life. So be just being true to who you really are, your background, where you come from, possibly staying connected to the nature, possibly just keep on reminding yourself that no matter what you accomplish, where you reach in your life, but again, what you are, your defining moments in life, it's all because of the very basic of where you started from. So just staying connected to your basics is really, going back to basics.